Hello everyone, welcome to this section. In today's video, we are going to talk about for loops. So a for loop is used to iterate over a sequence or a range of numbers. So the for loop iterates through each element in a sequence, performing an action for each element. The range function in Python is often used to loop over a sequence of numbers. Later on in higher level classes and courses in Python, when we are going to learn about list, tuple, dictionary, and set, then we can also integrate for loops with them as well. So a for loop can iterate over a list, a tuple, a dictionary, or a set. But this is something that we're going to discuss in higher level courses. For now, we are going to learn how to use the range function in Python to iterate over a range of numbers. Let me illustrate it with an example. So now we would like to write a program that prints numbers from 1 to 5 using a for loop. This is the statement of our program. So in order to use the for loop, we have the keyword reserved in Python for. Then we are having the I. It could be anything that we want. We choose our iteration variable to be I. And then we are going to use the in keyword reserved for this. Range is the function of the Python that we are going to use, and the range is divided by a comma. So there are two ranges in parentheses that we are going to have when using the range function, the starting point and the ending point. So let me run this code. When we run this code, this I is going to iterate over this range for us. One thing to mention is that the starting point in Python for range function is inclusive, but the ending point is exclusive. It means that it is going to iterate over for all I in the range between 1 to 6, but it is going to iterate over 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and not 6, because the end is exclusive. So it is the start point that is inclusive, okay? And then we are going to print I. So in the output, we are having number 1 to 5 being printed out. But how does it work? So let me put some comment here. So for the first time, we say that we are using this range function. And when we are having the range function, we need to choose the start point and the end point, okay? Start point, end point. And when we are going to have the range function, for example, here we would like to go over numbers from 1 to 5. So the starting point is 1, and it is going to include 1 because it's a rule in Python. So the starting point is inclusive. So it is going to start from 1 and it is going to iterate until it's 5. But because if I write down 5 here, because the end point is exclusive, it is going to iterate over 1, 2, 3, and 4, and not 5, because the end point is exclusive. Okay, so I'm going to put 6 here, therefore it is going to go until 5. So this is how the range function works. And if I want to explain further, we see that for the first time I get the value 1. Okay, when I equals 1, it is basically having this print function being implemented, because we are having print, and in the parentheses we are having I, and I equals 1, so we are going to print 1 in the output, and we see it here. Okay, and then it goes up back again, and I now equals 2. I now equals 2, and it is going to print 2 for us, and we are having it here, and it goes up again. I is incrementing, and we are having the I equals 3, print 3, I equals 4, print 4, and finally I equals 5, print 5. So this is basically what happens in each iteration in this for loop that we are having this output here. So in this lesson, we learned how to write a for loop. We are having a for keyword and one variable to be defined here, then using the in keyword and providing the range, a starting point and an ending point. Starting point is inclusive and the ending point is exclusive. So if I type down until 6, it is not going to go for the 6th one. It is going to go until 5, okay? Until the end of 5, including 5. And for this loop, I am printing I. So I, when it starts, because it starts from 1, I equals 1, it is printing 1. Then I is 2, I is 3, printing 3, I is 4, printing 4, I is 5, printing 5, and that's it. It is finished. The for loop is finished, and these are the output of our program. And one thing to mention here is that this is the range function that we are using to iterate over a range of numbers, and it has two parts in the parentheses, starting point and ending point. They are separated by a comma. In the next videos, we are going to discuss further practical coding exercises so you would get used to the syntax of loops, of different types of loops, including for loops. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to talk about nested loops. So a loop inside another loop is called a nested loop. A nested loop is useful for working with multi-dimensional data like matrices. The inner loop runs completely for each iteration of the outer loop. Let me illustrate it with an example. Here I'm having a for loop for variable I iterating between range 1 and 3. I'm having another loop which we call inner loop. So the first one, the loop for the I is outer loop, the loop for the J is inner loop. So we are having another loop here that ranging from 1 to 4, okay? And we are going to print I and J. So if I want to illustrate this, so I equals 1, when I equals 1, it enters this part. And when it enters, J equals 1 as well. So it is going to print 1. So it is printing 1 and 1, okay? As you see here in the output in the first line, okay? Then I still equals 1, but J is going to increase its value. So J equals to Y because we are in the outer loop. So when we enter the outer loop, the outer loop is 1. So I equals 1. However, when I equals 1, we are going to iterate over all the values that J can take first. And when that is finished, we are going back up again to the outer loop and then increase the value of I. Okay, let me illustrate it with this explanation. You will get what I mean. So I equals 1, J is going to increase from 1 to 2. Therefore, it is going to print 1 and 2 as you see here in the output, the second line. Then I equals 1, J equals 3. It is going to print 1 and 3 in the output as you see here, okay? So the maximum number that I can get is I can be equal 1 and 2. J can be equal to 1, 2, and 3. Because the starting point is included, this is why I gets the value 1, but the ending point is excluded. So it is going to exclude number 3. So it is going to iterate over 1 and 2. The same logic goes for J. So it is going to iterate over 1, 2, and 3. So when I equals 1 in these three scenarios, we are going to iterate over J equals 1, J equals 2, and J equals 3. As you see here, I equal 1, J1, I1, J2, I1, J3, okay? And we are going to print I and J using this line. And when all the values for the J is tested for the inner loop, we are going to go back up again and increase the value of I one time. So I equals 2 now. So now I equals 2. J starts from 1 again. J is 1. So 2 I2, J1, I2, J2, I2, J3. Okay. So we're going to print 2 and 1. I equals 2, J equals 2. It is going to print 2 and 2 for us. And finally, I equals 2, J equals 3. It is going to print 2 and 3 for us. So this is what we see exactly in the output. So let me go back over the code one more time. So we are having one outer loop and one inner loop. So the outer loop is iterating over different values between 1 and 3 for variable I. The inner loop, it is iterating for variable j between 1 and 4. Okay? And in each iteration, we are going to print the value of I and j. So the first time when we enter the outer loop, I equals 1. However, when I equals 1, we are going to iterate over all the j's. So one time I1, J1, I1, J2, I1, J3. Then we are going to increase the value of I when all the values of j are tested. We are increasing the value of I from 1 to 2. So we are having 2, 1, 2, 2, and 2, 3. And we are printing them in the output as you see here. Basically, this is the concept of nested loop in Python. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about while loops in Python. So a while loop repeats as long as a specific condition is true. So the while loop requires a condition to be true, and if the condition becomes false, the loop stops. So we need to be careful to avoid infinite loops by ensuring the condition eventually becomes false, okay? For example, here we're going to print numbers from 1 to 5 using a while loop. Exactly the same exercise as the previous video, but here instead of for loops, we are going to use while loop. So I'm initializing I variable to be 1 before starting the loop, and then I'm having the while keyword, and then the condition here and colon here. Okay, so three parts: the keyword while, the condition here, and the colon. Okay, so I'm going to write down while I is lower than or equal to 5, do these things for me. Okay, while I is lower than and equals to 5, print I, and then increase the value of I by 1. Okay, this sign, let me plus equal, it means that when I'm typing down I plus equal 1, it means I'm typing down I equals I plus 1. So they are basically the same in Python. So I equals I plus 1 is exactly, it is going to do the exact thing as I plus equal 1. Okay, but because it is more concise and more and shorter, we're going to use this way of writing it. But whenever you see this, it means this. Okay, you can type it down somewhere in comments for yourself for a while to get used to it. So let me illustrate it with an example. Initially I equals 1, and when we are going to enter this condition, it checks to see 1 is lower than 5. Yes, it's true. So print I. So it is going to print 1 for us. And then in the next line, we are having I equals I plus 1. It means that I equals 1 plus 1. Therefore, I equals 2. Okay, so this line is exactly like this line. And basically, it means that I equals 1 plus 1. Why? We already have 1 here, so this one is that one. And we also have this I here, and I initially equals to 1. So when it equals to 1, we are typing down here. So now I equals to 2, okay? So we incremented the value of I by one value. So now I equals 2 at the end of this loop, and it is going to check the condition again. 2 is lower than 5, yes. So it is going to print 2. Then it is typing down I plus 1. Okay, so it means that I equals 2 plus 1, therefore I equals 3. But why 2 plus 1? Because we are having this formula, I equals I plus 1. So I equals 2 plus 1. This plus 1 is exactly the same thing here, but we are having 2 because we entered this loop initially using I equals 2, because this is why we were printing 2. So 2 plus 1, now I equals 3. I equals 3, we are going up here again and we are checking the condition. 3 is lower than 5. Yes, it is lower than 5. So print 3 for me. Print 3, sorry. And then I equals 3 plus 1. I equals 4. Okay. And here 4 is lower than 5. Yes. So print 4. I equals 4 plus 1. I equals 5. 5 is lower than or equal to 5. Yes. So print 5. And then I equals 5 plus 1. I equals 6. So I equals 6 now. 6 is lower than or equal to 5? No, it's not. Therefore, it is not passing this condition, and thus it is not going to enter this loop anymore. So this is not an infinite loop, because we mentioned here we need to ensure that the condition eventually becomes false here, and now it becomes false because I equals 6 and 6 is not lower than 5. Therefore the condition becomes false, and now when I run this program, you see here I'm printing 1 to 5 here. So let me explain it one more time. If we want to have the while loop, we need to initialize the variable a priori to the while loop. So I'm initializing this I here, then I'm having the keyword while, then the condition and one colon, sorry. And as long as I is lower than or equal to 5, I'm going to print the value of I and increase the value of I by 1 unit. And when I'm having I plus equal 1, it means that I plus equal 1, it is exactly equal to this equation. I equals I plus 1. But because it is shorter, we are going to use this one. But we could use this one as well. Okay? So when I equals 1, I print 1 and I increase the value of I by 1 value. So 1 plus 1, it's 2. 2 is lower than 5, yes. So print 2, and 2 plus 1 is 3. So 3 is lower than 5, yes. Print 3 for me, and 3 plus 1 equals 4. So 4 is lower than 5, print 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 is lower than or equal to 5, yes. Print 5. Increase the value of I by 1 value. So 5 plus 1 is 6. And 6 is lower than or equal to 5? No. So it's not going to enter this while anymore. But what happens if I comment this line? So if I comment this line, it is going to have I equals 1. It is going to say 1 is lower than 5, yes. Print 1. And go up again because we commented this line. Okay, I still, it is 1. Okay, 1 is lower than 5, yes. Print 1. Again it goes up back again. 1 is lower than 5, yes. So we are not changing the value of I, so it becomes an infinite loop. So when I run this code, you see it is simply printing 1 again and again. So it is not going to finish because it's an infinite loop. So I need to stop it. Okay, so I need to interrupt it. You see how many 1 it has been printing? Let me go up again. It's not going to finish. So when I go up, oh la la. Okay, so we need to make sure that it is not an infinite loop and it is going to end at some point. This is the important part when we are having the while loop. Thank you for your watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we are going to talk about break statement. So a break statement is used to exit a loop, even if the loop's condition is still true. It is useful when we want to stop the loop based on certain conditions. So let me illustrate it with an example. We would like to stop the loop when the number equals 5, okay? So we are going to have a for loop. It is going to iterate over I in the range 1 to 10, and we are having the colon here, and we are having one if statement. So if I equals 5, break. If I equals 5, break. Otherwise, print I. Okay, so when I run this code, it is printing 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let me illustrate what's happening here. So I equals 1 in the first time, and it checks to see 1 equals 5. No. So when I say no, it is not going to break because it's not going to enter this part of the if condition. So this is the if condition. This is the statement that is going to be executed if this condition is true. So in the first run, I equals 1. 1 equals to 5? No. Therefore, it is not going to do anything here, and it is going to jump here and print 1 in the output for us. Okay, so print 1. Then I'm having I equal 2. It checks to see 2 equals 5. No, so print 2. I 3, print 3 because 3 is not equal to 5. And I equals 4, print 4. However, when I equals 5, it checks here. 5 equals 5. Yes? Yeah, that is true. So when 5 equals 5, it is going to execute this part of the code. So it is going to break. When it breaks, it means that it exits this for loop. Okay, so it is going to exit this part and it is going to come here where we have nothing more to execute. So this is why when I equals 5, it is not printing anything for us because this print comes after the break. But if this print comes before the break, it is going to also print the 5 for us. But it is now, let me put it here. So when I put the print here and I run the code, you see that 5 is also printed because when I equals 5, it is going to first print 5 and then checks to see if 5 equals to 5 and then it is going to break. Okay, so it's important for you to know where to put the break and how the output of the program could be different based on where you're putting the break. So when I have the break before the print, when I equals 5, it is not going to print 5. But when the print is before the if condition, it is first going to print 5, then break the loop. So it is not going to go for the I equals 6, 7, 8, and 9 because this loop was supposed to go from 1 to 9. I'm saying 1 to 9 because the endpoint is exclusive, so 10 is not going to be considered. It is going to go from 1 to 9. So it is when we are having I equal 5, it is breaking, so it is exiting the loop. Therefore, I equals to 6, 7, 8, and 9 are not executed here. Okay? So this is how we can use the break statement. When certain conditions are met, we can have the break and exit the loops. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we are going to talk about continuous statement. So the continuous statement is used to skip the current iteration and move to the next one. It allows the loop to continue running but skips executing the rest of the code for the current iteration. Let me illustrate it with an example. So we would like to write a program that skip even numbers. Okay. For that, we are looping over all values for variable I in the range between 1 and 6. And if this I variable is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division equals 0, we're going to continue. Otherwise, if this condition is not passed, we're going to print I. So let me type down this I equals 1, I equals 2, I equals 3, I equals 4, and I equals 5. Okay, so these are the values that I is going to iterate over. So for the first time, when I equals 1, it basically mentions, sorry, let me put this. Okay, 1, if 1 is divided by 2, the remainder would be equal to 0. It is checking this condition. Is it true? No, because it's not true. It is going to print 1 for us. So in the output, we will have the print 1. Okay. Then it moves to the next number. So I is incremented by one value. So we are having, if 2 divided by 2, the remainder of this division equals 0. Yes. So when it is yes, it is going to continue. So this condition is passed. Therefore, it is going to skip this iteration. So it is not going to print anything for us in the output. So it is going to skip. It is going to continue. Nothing happens. Skip this iteration. Okay. Then it is going to increment the value of I one more time. So I equals 3 now. So 3, if it is divided by 2, the remainder of this division, is it equal to 0? No. So it's not equal to 0. Therefore, it is going to print 3 in the output. Then I equals 4. 4, if it is divided by 2, the remainder would be 0. No. The remainder would be 0. Yes, sorry. So therefore, it is going to skip this iteration again. And finally, when I equals 5, 5 is divided by 2. The remainder, is it 0? No, so it's not 0. Therefore, it is going to print 5 for us. So looking at the output, we see that it is skipping the even numbers. It is printing 1, 3, and 5. So let me run the code one more time. So we are printing 1, 3, and 5. You see here in the output, we are having 1, 3, 5. As we expected, we are printing 1, nothing happens. Printing 3, skip this iteration, and printing 5. Let me go through the analyzing of code one more time. So we are having a for loop starting from I in the range between 1 to 6. So I is going to take values between 1 to 5, okay, between 1 and 5. So in case that when we are entering this loop, if I is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division is equal to 0, do nothing and go back up and increase the value of I. Continue is doing basically this thing. Otherwise, print the value of I. So 1 divided by 2, the remainder is 0? No, because it's not an odd number. It's not an even number. So the definition of even number is when it is divided by 2, the remainder must be equal to 0. Therefore, when this does not happen, the number is odd. So by having this line, we can understand if a number is odd or even. So if one number is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division equals 0, it means that that number was an even number. So we are saying that 1 divided by 2, the remainder equals 0? No. So it's not 0, therefore it is not going to continue, it's not going to enter this condition, and it is going to print I, and I was 1, so it is printing 1 in the output, okay? Then I equals to 2, 2 is divided by 2, the remainder equals 0, yes. When the answer is yes, continue. When the answer is yes, so this condition is passed, so it is entering this part. Okay, when entering this part, it says execute the continue statement, and continue statement means that do not execute the rest of the code for the current iteration. Okay, so for the current iteration, it does not execute the code, it goes back up, and I is incremented by 1 value, so I equals 3 now. 3 divided by 2, the remainder equals 0. No, because the answer is no, it is going to print I here. It is not going to enter the continue part, okay? Because the continue part is going to be executed whenever this if condition is true, whenever the statement of the if condition is going to be executed. So printing 3 here, and then for the 4, when I is equals 4, 4 divided by 2, the remainder equals 0. Yes, so continue and do not execute the rest of the code for current iteration. It goes back up, so nothing happens here, as you see. I equals 5, 5 divided by 2, the remainder equals 0. No, so if the answer is no, print I for me, which is 5 here in the output. So this is basically how we can use the continue statement to skip the current iteration when certain conditions are met. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we would like to write a program that asks the user to enter the price of 3 items one by one, and we would like to use a loop to collect the prices and calculate the total cost. To do that, we are initializing a variable called total cost to be 0. Then I'm using a for loop starting from I. So the I variable is initialized starting from 1, that and ends at 3, because the start is inclusive and is exclusive. So if I type down the range between 1 and 3, I is going to take values 1 and 2 because the end, that 3, is exclusive. So therefore, if we want to ask for 3 items, we need to ask for the range of 1 to 4. So for any I in the range 1 to 4, we are going to ask the user to show the message saying that enter the price of the item 1, for example, item 2 and item 3, and whatever the user is going to enter is going to be converted to float and then be assigned to the price variable here, okay? And the price variable here is going to be added to the total price. When we are having the plus equal sign, it means that total underline price variable equals to total underscore price plus price. Okay, so this equation equals to this one. They are doing the same thing, but it is a way to write it more concise. So you can write it down like this if it's a bit complex for you or confusing. So it means that the total price, the new total price, equals to total price plus the price. So in the first iteration, the total price equals 0, and the price is whatever the user is going to enter. So imagine that the user is going to enter prices are 20, 25, and 10. Okay, these are the prices. So when I equals 1, price equals 20, so the user is going, we assume that the user is going to enter 20, so total price equals 0 plus 20. Why? Total price, this is the formula, equals total price plus price. So the total price in the first iteration from before that, we know that total price equals 0, and then 20 is the number that we assume that the user is going to enter for the first product. So this means that total price equals 20. Okay. And in the next iteration, we are having this. For example, when I equals 2, price equals 25. This is just an assumption. And then we are going to, I'm assuming these assumptions because I want to give you a hint and a detailed examples, a detailed explanation of how this total price is being calculated. So total price equals total price plus price. So here it is total price plus price, and total price was 20 from the previous iteration, and the newly entered price is 25, so it is equal to 45 now. And in the last iteration, when I equals 3, price equals 10, because we assume that the user is going to enter number 10, and total price is calculated as the previous total price, which is 45, plus the newly price that is added by the user, which is 10. Therefore, the output will be 55. And we mentioned that in the output, after doing the calculation, we mentioned that total price is 55. So when I run this code, sorry, I'm having an error in this part here. So when I run this code, it asks me enter the price of the item. So I enter 20 first, okay? When I enter 20, it says enter the price of the item again, because there are 3 items that we are going to enter. So the second item price is 25 based on my assumption here, and it again says that enter the item. I'm assuming that the third item price is 10, so it is going to calculate the total price item is 55. Why it asked me 3 prices here? Because we were having a range from 1 to 4, and 4 is exclusive. Therefore, it is going to ask 3 times to enter the total price, and whenever I'm entering the price, it is adding the price to the total price variable, which was initially set to be 0, and in each iteration we added the price that we entered here to this total price variable, so the sum will be 55. So in this example, we learned how a for loop can help us to work as a calculator. For example, in shops, when you're going to a shop and you're giving several items to the cashier, the system of that cashier is using the same mechanism and logic to calculate the total price for you. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to this lecture. In this video, we are going to do a coding exercise using while loop. We would like to write a program that counts down from 5 to 1. To do that, we are initializing a variable to be 5, and then we are using while loop. So the while loop is going to continue as long as count variable is larger than 0. So the first time that it is initialized to 5, 5 is larger than 0, then it is going to enter this loop. When it enters this loop, it is printing countdown and the number of the count. So in the first time, count equals 5, so it prints 5 in the output. After that, it is decreasing the value of count by 1 value. We explained that when we are having, for example, these signs, it is equivalent to this count minus 1. Okay, so here it means that count equals 5 minus 1. Why? Because it is already initialized to 5 and we are decreasing its value by 1. Okay, so after this equation, count will be 4. So basically, in the first iteration, we are saying that count equals 5. 5 is larger than 0. Yes, it is true. Therefore, it enters the loop. It prints the value 5 for us, as we indicated here, and it decreased the value of count by 1 unit. So count is now 4. It goes back up. It checks the condition again. 4 is larger than 0. Yes. So count equals 4. So it prints 4, and now count equals 4 minus 1, therefore count equals 3. Why? Because it was 4 already in this equation here. It was already 4 from the previous iteration minus 1, which is here. 4 minus 1, now count equals 3. So now it goes back up again to check the condition. 3 is larger than 0. Yes, therefore it enters the loop. It is saying that count is 3, so it is printing the value 3, and it is calculating 3 minus 1, therefore count equals 2. And in the next iteration, 2 is larger than 0. Yes, it enters the loop again, so it prints number 2 and calculate the count again and reduce it by one value, 2 minus 1, so count equals 1. And now 1 is larger than 0. Yes, so count equals 1, print 1, and we are having 1 minus 1 equals, now count equals 0. So it goes back up again. It checks count is larger than 0. So count in the final iteration, it is 4. So 4 is larger than 0. No, it's not. Therefore, it's not going to enter the loop. Therefore, these two lines are not going to be executed, and it is going to print the last message in the terminal blast off. So when I run the code, we should see the same output as we anticipated here. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and blast off. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and blast off. As you see, we can use while loops in many practical examples in real world. For example, countdown. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to learn how to print the words of a string one by one using a for loop. To do that, we are initializing a string called word, and we are assigning the Python string to this word. And we are writing down a for loop, and we are initializing a variable called a letter, and letter is going to iterate using the in keyword the word string. Okay, and then for each iteration it is going to print this letter for us. So in the first iteration, letter equals p. In the second iteration, letter equals y. In the third iteration, equal it is going to be equal to t, then letter will be equal to h, then letter will be equal to o, and then letter will be equal to n. So this letter that we are having here is going to iterate over this word string, and it is going to print the letter here using the print function. So in the first iteration, letter is taking the P letter, then Y, then T, then H, then O, and then N. So when I run this code, I expect to see Python this a string, but one by one, letter by letter, it is being printed. And we already learned if we want to print this string in one line, we can simply use this syntax, and we can say print and the word variable that is called word. It is going to print us the output of our string. So in this lecture, we learned how to iterate over a string and how iterating over a string can help us to print all the letters of a string one by one. And from before, we reviewed that if we want to print the whole string itself in one line, we can use the print function and put down the name of our variable that is containing that string, and simply print out that string here for us. So here you see that the Python is being printed. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we would like to write a program that prints the multiplication table for a given number. So my given number in this example is 5, and I'm looping over variable I ranging from 1 to 11. So it loops through numbers 1 to 10. And in each iteration, I'm printing out number multiplied by I equals number multiplied by I. So when I run this code, you see in the output, we are looping through 1 to 10. So we are looping from 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5 until 10. And my given number is 5. So we are having a multiplication table, sorry, of number 5 here. As you see, 5 times 1. So number times I, 5 times 1, 5 times 2, etc. equals, and the output is number times I that is being printed out here. So 5 times 1, it's 5, 5 times 2, it's 10, 5 times 3, it's 15. But how it is happening? So we know that number equals 5, okay? It's a fixed number because we are not changing number. It's just a number that we set to be 5, and we can change it for another example if we want. But I is changing from 1 to 10. So when I equals 10, y equals 1, we are having 5 times 1 equals 5. Okay. Then we are having I equals 2, 5 times 2 equals 10. Then I is incremented to 3, so 5 times 3, it's 15. Then I equals 4, so 5 times 4 equals 20. I equals 5. 5 times 5 equals 25. I equals 6. We are having 5 times 6 equals 30. We are having I equals 7. So 5 times 7 equals 35. I equals 8. 5 times 8 equals 40. I equals 9. So 5 times 9 equals 45. And finally, the last value for I is 10. So 5 times 10 equals 50. This is how this loop is being executed. So I starts from 1 and it ends at 10. So we started from 1 and it ends at 10. And in each iteration, the number equals 5, this variable number. Okay, it is a fixed value 5, so 5 is fixed, but I is changing and it is looping through 1 to 10, and the output is being printed out here using this formula, number times I. So this is basically is how we are printing out the multiplication table for number 5. So if I have the number to be 6 here, so when I run the code, I have the multiplication table for number 6. This is a fixed number. We can change it as we wish. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we would like to write a program that calculates and prints the sum of all numbers from 1 to 10. To do that, I'm initializing a variable called total to be 0. I'm having a for loop and I'm iterating over variable I between the range 1 and 11. So it loops through numbers 1 to 10. Okay. And for each iteration, I'm having total plus equal I. So we are checking, we are having the summation of i's into the total variable. And basically here, I'm printing out the total. So let me run the code. It says that the sum is 55, but how this 55 is being printed? I mentioned earlier in another coding exercise, when we are having plus equal sign, it means that we are having this formula, total plus I, okay? So this is the formula. So the first time I equals 1, we enter. It means that total equals, so total is initially set to be 0, okay? So new total equals 0 plus I equals 1 plus 1. So total equals 1. Okay. Then I equals 2. Total equals 1 plus 2. Why? So this one comes from this formula. So this is total plus I. So this one is the value of total which we calculated in the previous iteration to be 1. And this 2 comes from this I that is coming from this I. Okay, I equals 2 in this iteration. Therefore, now total equals 3. We have I equals 3. Total equals 3 plus 3 equals 6. Okay, why 3 plus 3? So this 3 comes from this 3. So we calculated the total in the previous iteration, and this 3 comes from I equals 3 because the formula, the new total, is total plus I. Okay, the already value of total plus the current I. And then when I equals 4, we are having the total equals 6 plus 4. Therefore, total equals 10. Then I equals 5. We are having total equals 10 plus 5. So total would be 15. Then we are having I equals 6. Total equals 15 plus 6. So total equals 21. Then we are having I equals 7. Total equals 21 plus 7. Therefore, total equals 28. Then we are having I equals 8. We are having total equals 28 plus 8. It equals 36, if I'm not mistaken. 26, yeah. 28 plus 8 is 36. And then we are having I equals 9. So total equals 36 plus 9. So the total is now 45. And finally, I equals 10. And total equals 45 plus 10. So total is 55, which is this number that we got here. So basically, in this code, we are iterating over values for I between 1 and 10. We are looping through numbers 1 and 10, and we are calculating and adding the current number to the total number. So total initially equals 0. In the first iteration, total is 0. We are adding the first iteration, I equals 1. So total is now 1. Then I equals 2, 2 plus that previous one. Then I equals 3, 3 plus the previous 3 of the total. So we are increasing the value of 1 to 10 in each iteration to total. So we are having one total, which is summing over all the values that is being iterated between 1 and 10. So it is going to give us the sum of all numbers from 1 to 10. This is how it works, because total starts from 0 and we are increasing the value of the I in each iteration. As you see here, I'm adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And these are added to the previous value of I. So you see to previous value of total, because total was 0. So I equals 1. 1 plus 0, it's 1. Then this old value is here, and in the second iteration, number 2 is added to that, so it is 3 now. And the I is 3, we are adding it to already existing total, which is 3, so it's 6 now. 6 is added to number 4, their summation is added to number 5, their summation is added to number 6, their summation is added to numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we reach the output of sum of all numbers from 1 to 10 is 55. Thank you for watching.